All right, time to code, time to code, time to code. Hey, I'm Eric. I'm making a game. It's called The God Killer. It is a 3D top-down puzzler. Um, and I have been making progress on procedural generation stuff. And it's all been good. It's all been good. Um, yeah, I'll go over what I've accomplished in just a moment here. We'll do a little demo of it. I'll tell you what I've got next. And I'm just taking a moment at this time to remind myself it's not my goal to make really cool procedural generation. As a means to an end, and the end is to make this game, make the game cool, release the game. So it is possible for me to lose my way and keep doing cool shit, but it doesn't get me closer to the end goal. And I don't want to do that. So, anyways, the schedule. If you're watching this as a recording, you might say to yourself, "Oh, I like this thing that he's doing, but it's not happening right now because it's a recording that I'm watching. How could I possibly be there when the shit goes down, when it actually happens?" And I'll tell you, I've got a schedule that I keep pretty well, except when I'm out on business travel. Is Monday through Thursday. I do a live coding session in the evening, my evening in the Pacific Coast Standard Time, 6 to 8 p.m. ish, I say, because like today, I'm just so excited to get started on it that it's 5:37 and I'm on. I'm not waiting until 6. I'm just gonna get going. And then for that, the first 10 minutes or so, I do a little demo of the game and the recent progress I've made. And then I just kind of settle into a little coding vibe, and I start actually doing coding. You'll still hear me talking. I am one of the more verbose live coders. It doesn't even need to be. I don't even need to have anybody listening to me, and I still keep talking because I don't know why. I don't know why. Maybe it's for me. Maybe it's for you. Maybe it's for imaginary people that might drop in the middle and be just enchanted with what I'm saying. Anyways, but yeah, that's the structure of the live coding session, of which you are a part of. If you join at that time, very happy to answer chats. Sundays, 3 p.m.s, in the afternoons of the Pacific Coast. I have God Killer Gamedev Sundays, and these are non-programming tasks related to the game. Level design, making artwork, making audio, 3D modeling, stuff like that. So if you're not into getting deep into the code, come check me out on Sunday afternoons. All right, so let's see, where are we at with things? Where are we at? I don't like to start on a boring browser screen. Let's close that. Let's get to the game. So I'll step back a little bit. Instead of saying what I just recently did, I'll kind of go back over a number of things that make up the procedural generation. So when I create this level, I don't add all these little decorations and niceties to it. I just make some very simple blocks, and the procedural generation, it applies different textures to things. If it's the top of an object, it tends to be a floor. It'll put a floor texture on it. It'll put wall textures on the sides. It's kind of like guessing what I want. It's not full procedural generation. It's sort of like a augmentation, you might say. So it's guessing what me, the level designer, wants to be here. And I've given it some pretty good training in what to put. So it adds these textures on the walls. They come from like a theme-specific specification where I say at certain heights and certain angles I'm going to have certain textures on these surfaces. The next thing it does is it looks for the tops of these geometries. And it says this is a floor. I'm going to put edges around the entire floor. It's got some rules for putting those there. It adds little decorations like these things, which I call descenders. which kind of look like the pipes that come down from your roof, maybe. Why am I forgetting the name of those? Those, you know, like gutters. Anyways, that little pipe that comes down, it's kind of like that. And it puts these lights in there. See these sparkling blue bright lights. It'll drop those in at random places. There's even some logic, like it tries to space them out so each one's a certain distance apart and things can be in between. Okay, the other procedural generation. These clouds, I didn't place them by hand. I had them placed by an algorithm. They are placed automatically inside of a cuboid, I guess is the correct geometry term for it, and according to settings that I specify. So I can say the number of clouds, I can say the direction I want them to move, north, south, east, west, up, down. I can give prefabs for all of these to get a certain look that I want. I can squish them a little bit. Anyways, lots of settings I can tweak with the clouds. And then when I hit play, which I'll do in a second, they'll move along a set path and or keep on kind of endlessly cycling and having their positions dropped off one end of the cloud conveyor belt and put on the starting end as they go off. So there's all that. All this is procedural, right? All this is like stuff that I don't specify by hand. These cables, they are generated procedurally by me dragging two 3D endpoints where I want them to go. And then there's all kinds of other decorations that I can apply to them, like different radiuses. Radii is the correct term. Decorations like this little fat bit that appears in the middle, that's procedural. Or these other decorations like little barbs here, that's procedural too. And then I was like irritated that like it took me so long to figure out where exactly to hook up in 3 space the ends of these cables. So most recently I've added little sockets or snap to points. They're automatically created in certain types of decorations and prefabs. So the corner here has got this thing called a socket. And that socket means that when I drag a cable like this. By the way, see how it looks like a real cable? I'm not just like moving it around wherever. I mean, I'm not just translating its vertices. It's actually calculating a new angle and what the droop of it should be and everything like that. And just to prove it, I will make it have more slack to it. So I'll say I want it to be a little more droopy. I want to give it more slack. There. So it's calculating all that stuff for me. I didn't have to author it. Didn't have to. I just didn't have to do much of anything after I got that code written. So it's going to be cable mania in these levels because I got all the tools to make cables really quickly. And there it gets a little snap to right into the place, the socket that I made for it. Except it didn't do it quite right. So it's still a little bit confusing to get it exactly there. 3 space points, man, they are kind of tricky to work with them fast. See, it looks like I had it lined up, but then I come over here and then it's not. Let me see. So that's the trouble with working in 3 dimensions. So over here, there. I think it snapped. It snapped. Oh, yeah, there's a snap. Okay, cool. So it moved to the location that I defined, which I know will make it render nicely and not have like Z fighting or other oddness. So yeah, I'm a master of cables and clouds and pre-generated textures, or I should say post-generation whatever. I'm a master of all these things. I have powers. Let me hit play. I'll show you what the end result of the level looks like a little bit. Oh, it's probably not going to do full screen. I think I've got it on the less impressive stay in the window setting. We'll see. And so far, almost every texture I got in here was generated by this tool I have called Filter Forge. So like the clouds, these tiles here, that's all Filter Forge. So let me do the maximize on play. I'm just trying to put on a good show. It's going to be end of demo time pretty quick here, but I'm going to walk around the level a little bit, and then I will get to the next task. While it's loading, I'll tell you what the next task is. It's just a little bit more procedural. I'm going to have some objects kind of snap onto the empty spaces on walls. So I'm going to have it look for placement and put those there. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it all done in one session, so I'm going to split it up a little bit. The first thing I'll do is some randomization, and I'll explain it in a second. Okay, another procedural thing is these explosions. So I mean, now I'm really like stretching the term a little bit, but you know, it's a particle effect. Particle effect is also procedural, if you think about it. It's just not maybe as impressive because it's more commonly done to generate explosions like that. So anyways, let's show off the cables a little bit more. I think they look neat. Like there's some Z fighting going on down here. I can fix that by just making the cloud boxes not cover that area, which you could call cheating, but good enough. You can see the clouds moving through. There's actually a close layer, which is more densely packed, and then a lower layer that has some more clouds to show more depth. So it looks pretty good, I think. And far below, so effectively a skybox, but since the no, I guess it's not really a skybox. It's not a skybox now that I think about it. No, it's just a big giant plane down there with a texture. That texture is also generated from Filter Forge, which I really become fond of. Alright, so it's just gotten to the maybe dangerous point for me where things look nice enough that if I don't stop myself, I'll spend too much time fiddling around with it because it's a little bit pretty. It's not. I mean, I'm not going to brag too much. I know it's got issues. I know it's not AAA, but it's a little bit pretty. Come on, it's not bad. It's not bad. Yeah, and the other thing is like if you start enjoying what it looks like too much, you will forget to see the problems. You'll just kind of make a little filter. So I know what the problems are. At least I know what some of them are. There is some like this cable here. It doesn't have one more segment at the end to connect it to the point. That's a little bug. That Z fighting I told you about. I think I can find some other cases of Z fighting in the corners. Those are all bugs that will have to be fixed before it can go out. And then there's some things like, and you got to be careful because you can get like a kind of a blindness to it. Like this is a bad floor texture here. It's too busy. It's really not even a floor texture, it's a wall, but because I don't have any distinction between walls and floors in the algorithm that goes and decorates, it's going to take the top of a wall and decorate it like a floor, which is not helpful in the long run for clear communication about what the level is. So in this case, I've got like stairs going up to this little bit. It really is a floor as far as what the player can do with it, having it be an accessible area. But if this wasn't meant to be accessible, and there will be some stuff like this, I need some other kind of decoration on top of it that's not going to automatically make it into a floor looking thing. So these corners and edge pieces should be reserved for floors only, because they're part of the visual cues that tell a player you're supposed to walk on this. This is something you should be able to get to. So there's some aesthetic problems I have to solve there, some bugs. I'm not looking at this all and fooling myself into thinking it's perfect. Okay, on to the actual work that I'm going to complete in this session. So I have a class called Level Decorator that's responsible for performing all the decoration. I'm going to make some changes to it. At the beginning, this is like the top level thing, the top level code that applies all the level decorations. First I say, get me all the squares, a list of all the squares that I'm going to apply level decorations to. Right now, it provides me all the squares that are within a certain cuboid, which I call the depth scan. The depth scan zone. I'll make it visible. There it is. I've got the mesh renderer turned off, but when it's turned on, I can see real clearly this is the area that will be scanned and decorated. But I actually want there to be a subset of this area, because the depth scan area is everything that must be scanned for the game to work. And what's going to end up happening is I'll run the decoration script on maybe like one area that I want to deal with. It's a subset of the whole depth scan area. And I'll do that because I'm troubleshooting the decorations in just one place. I don't want the whole lengthy decoration thing to run, or I've made hand edits to a decorated area that I want to preserve. So for example, if I said this is too many friggin' descenders here, then I would just edit it. I'll just edit it so that, you know, there's not this extra descender here. And that wouldn't be so hard. Do just something like this. Whoops. Okay, so we'll go like that, and then there. I've made a manual edit. But if I run the decorator again, it will destroy that edit. So I really need like a separate zone that, when it's present, will be a limiter on what actually gets decorated. It's almost like if you were typing some text in a document and you wanted to apply some formatting to just some of the text but not your whole entire document. You'd want a cursor or highlight to show the area you intended to format, or in my case decorate. So I've got zones down here. I've got operation zone. So I'll just put it someplace where I can start testing it out a little bit. I'm going to set it so that it only affects this overhang. Okay, so now I've got that operation zone there. I've got a tag on it called zone, which helps it be found, and the name of it is also another thing that helps it be found. So let me go back into here. Generate square CRHs. So that's the function that goes and gets them. Did I make a zone util? I did. I already made the function that gets the operation bounds. Just thinking about this, what I really want is for the operation bounds to never be outside of the depth scan bounds, or at least I'll say maybe I won't encapsulate that inside of here, because this just will always tell me where the operation bounds are, and that operation is like a cursor. I can apply it to level decoration, but I can potentially apply it to other things too, and those may not be tasks that depend upon the operation bounds being inside the depth scan bounds. But in here, I do know that I want the operation to always be inside of the depth scan bounds, so I can get the shared area between those two. Although it could kind of pull out weirdly shaped sections out of it, and I would lose. No, I think it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Because I can just check inside of this loop if it's in both depth scan and operation. So I don't need to actually define some shape that contains both things. I can just check inside of here, are we in the bounds of both zones? Okay, so list CRH. This can no longer be an array of known volume at the beginning. It has to be able to dynamically grow. Okay, so let me think about this. This appears redundant. Alright, so int min y equals. I feel like most of the time the operation is going to be a smaller area to check. Let's call this min h. So let's start with that. Equals h max h equals alright, just following the same pattern here for each of these. So I will traverse the operation. I want to set even one more constraint. So if I accidentally put the bottom part of the depth scan below 0, it causes problems. Okay, here I'll do my other check to see if I'm also inside of the depth scan. Oops. So once I have this in place, it's going to speed up my development quite a bit, because generating those declarations is actually quite time consuming. You'd think it would be all the logic for figuring it out, but it's actually instancing prefabs that takes a long time. Okay. So there's another task here I need to come back to, which is to randomize the squares. I'll explain that later, but I don't like to write a whole bunch of code all at one time. I like to kind of test as I go. Okay, let me just look over the stuff, because sometimes just checking over saves me stupid work. This is just kind of like a data entry task that I could mess up. CRH, 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 CRH. Okay. So I'm going to set a breakpoint. Stop. It's bad luck to. It's bad luck to rebuild after it's been in the debugger all night. I don't know why. It's not logical or rational. It's not always true that it's going to fail when I do that, but it's just bad luck. Like walking under a ladder. Alright, so then after that finishes, then I go over to my decorator and I see what the actual result of this is going to be. Waiting for it to catch up. A lot of times I make a change inside of the IDE and it just takes ages for Unity to pick up the change and rebuild it. I don't know if there's a way to speed that up. There probably is. I gotta admit, that's one of the most boring tasks for me, is just optimizing my development environment. Okay, so here we are on the debugger. I just want to see if I'm getting that subset of squares defined here. Okay. Huh. Okay. So far, this looks good. It looks like it would work. I do know one problem already. It'll be interesting to see how it's handled, though. So I've got some code that removes decorations, but they're going to remove all the decorations, not just in the area that I'm redecorating. So I'm gonna see what that looks like, though. There's no reason for me not to just check it out. It might actually be a little bit useful. Yeah, so it worked as expected on the first try, which is nice when that happens. So it cleared away all the other decorations. So you can kind of see, here's like empty bald edges around all these surfaces. And then in the cuboid that I defined up here, I said decorate just everything inside the zone only, and that's what it did. It dutifully decorated just what's in that zone. That's a good result. That's a good result. I'm happy about that. As far as like removing everything else, I can fix that next. It's maybe a little bit tricky to write that code, but I can do it. I can do it. So I used to be able to say, just yank everything out of here, just delete it all. Where's that code? Oh, here it is. Okay. So here I need to make, and you know, I might as well make a general purpose method for this. I want transform children equal transform. I'm just going to make a new function. Just gives me all the children that are in the bounds. This is tricky though. Alright, so here's where I have to think about the best way to do it, which means little design break. Destroy all children within bounds of depth scan and operations. You could say the intersection of those two geometries. Note the intersection can be odd shaped. So I'm thinking of my different ways to solve this. Just do the check for zones in clear level declaration. Populate list, delete the list. That's probably the best way to do it. Game object util. Get all children in bounds. Parent bounds, and then it's an array, bounds array. So that would mean that I have this general purpose function, and then I call it, and it returns all the children that are in the bounds of this, all of these. So that's when I do it. Number 3, I already know I'm kind of fucking around here, but generate a more complex expression of bounds. I mean, the only way I consider this if it's already built into Unity. Otherwise, it's just too much work. It's not justified work. Call. Okay, it's get all children in bounds. Parent. Bounds. Okay, and then also you can do get all in bounds. In fact, I could do get all in bounds, and wait, I gotta check some transform. Is there just a property? It's like an array. No, I have to call getChild a whole bunch of times. I guess that's how it goes. Let me just double check that. Children. No. Okay. So I was starting to like this last option, but of having a more general purpose. Get all in bounds, pass like children array. I don't know. It doesn't seem that elegant unless there's something built into transform that just gives me that array real quick. So I don't know. That seems like not that great. This seems like gold plating. The first one, easy. It is coupled to the particular work I'm doing, but it's kind of dumb sometimes to write general purpose functions when really you're not going to reuse it that much. So that's it. End of that design session. So we'll save. Basically, we'll move this part over here. Get all children in bounds of both dev scan zone and operations. Dev scan and operation zones. Okay. It does seem to make sense for me to refactor that, check for if it's inside though. But anyway, so one thing at a time. For this thing. Yeah, I could encapsulate this check inside of zone util. That wouldn't be bad. Except there's an expensive call. Okay. Yeah, there's all this. I guess it's not that bad. It's just one Boolean check here. Alright, so what if I just do okay, so then we want the bounds of this guy. I gotta perform this. I hate doing this extra check for a renderer there. Get component calls are kind of expensive. And having it run on every single one of them. Maybe it's not that bad. I don't know. No, there's like some other. I think I'm doing too much work here. Okay, let me bring up Unity docs. See, intersects is not what I want. I don't want the events of entering and exiting. Yeah. Is this the accepted answer? No. I know how to write this. I just don't want to unnecessarily write it. And if there's native code that does it, it's probably going to be faster. I might go look at the bounds documentation. I don't want to add colliders. All right, let me say Unity bounds contains. I think it's going to ask for me to check all the points. I mean, I think it's going to be useful for checking a point, and for me to perform the check, I'd end up testing each of, or at least the minimum and max points. Oh yeah, I forgot, I don't need to test all of them, not 8 points, just min and max. Bounds contains, is point contained in the bounding box. Okay, that's fine. I still have to get the bounds. That sucks, but I don't know. It's probably not going to be that big of a deal. This is editor code too, so it's not the same performance needs. Bounds equals go get component renderer. And then I want okay, I'll just use this stuff. I'll have to init static. And I think I'm going to order these by their likelihood of limiting. I think I'll check each one right after I have it, just to minimize the CPU work that gets done over an average. Okay. This might get run on 1,000 game objects, something like that. Okay, so that should check for any game object if it's inside of the 2 zones. The other thing I need to do is this bit of logic here. And I feel like maybe I should just set the operation zone to be the depth scan zone if it's missing. So let me do that. That simplifies it. Alright, whatever. Good. So let's go back to here. Okay. So now might as well just do That might work the first time, I don't know. I'll set a breakpoint. So the thing I can do is oh no, I'll just duplicate one decoration. And I'll stick it outside of the operation. Okay, that's irritating. I'm waiting for the undo to complete. There we go. Just stick some junk over there. That one is in the depth scan, but outside of the operation. I'll make a duplicate of that. Oops, I've got it like in a place that's not helpful though. I'm just setting up a little bit of garbage that will allow me to see if the algorithm is correct for removing them. Okay, and so this one should be outside the depth scan. I'll put it off over here. I'll do one more that I'll put inside of the decoration and depth scan area, and that one should get deleted. All right. Okay, so I'm curious how many I've got. Child count 42. That sounds about right. Okay, so that one right away did not contain one of the points of it. Just do another one, because I think most of these should be inside. I shouldn't have more than 3 that are outside. I don't know, unless it just happened to pick up 3 right at the beginning. Some kind of error. Why won't you just say what error you had? I don't think it worked. I think something went wrong. I don't know what. console. There's no renderer attached to the corner clone game object. That's weird. Really no renderer. God, I hate this shit. So I'm just wondering, like, how could I even find which thing it was complaining about? I should have the coordinates. Okay. So first one. Let me figure out exactly where this first one is and just see if it's acting as expected. So bounds. First off, size should be 1. Oh, okay. Well, no, that makes sense. Less than 1. That's probably true. Okay, so it's what kind of game object is it? It's north. Let me look up its location. Okay, so bounds, you're saying 31, 22, negative 24. I will not be able to switch over to Unity until it's done with the debugger. So let's just make a note. And that should be like right in the middle. Right in the middle of the thing. Yeah, it's the center. Okay. So 27, 20. This seems like it could be. Could be. No, okay. I've got it mixed around. So, I mean, there's at least two bugs here. But the first bug is my logic here is checking that the bounds of the little tiny thing, which is a decoration, contains all the points of the large things, which are, I've got the container and containee confused. So I'll say that's not very interesting to keep troubleshooting that, because I know the problem there. But the one that is still interesting to me is the third game object that it looked at, which it just seemed to have failed to deal with. So this one's fine. Basically, I think it's going to be this call right here that fails. And I think it will fail on the next time through. So I don't want to execute this because I think it'll fail. So let me just see if I can identify this. Well, it does have a renderer. Is it gonna fail? Let me double check. No, it worked. There, it failed. So it was not the third one, it was the fourth one. Okay. Fine. Okay. Let me fix this guy first. I had some code. Yeah, let's do that. If bounds equals null, just return false. Maybe I got some little garbage shape in there someplace. If I do, I can live with it being there. Or I can later on make some other kind of cleanup for it. So, had this mixed around. Alright. So I just gotta make this new function, which is pretty trivial. All I'm doing here is just checking to see if a point is inside of some bounds, but it is a special, I'm implementing the same contains function that I was just trying to use, but this version basically uses points and bounds that are stored in an integer-based system that's more in line with what my level stores its logic as. So we'll say you used to make little mistakes. And I remember some other code up here that was pretty similar. Would like to replace that. I hate that I'm doing a new here, so I might just add one more utility method. There's no might about it. I will do it. I will add it. And you might reasonably say, why don't you just have one of these functions call the other? I don't know, because it's not that hard to have them. There's no penalty to having them two functions very similar to each other very simple code. And then I also get like some slight performance boost by not having one call another. That's why. You could call it premature optimization, but you could also call it very mature optimization, as only very mature people do it. Okay. Okay. Let me get back to the original problem. Build it. Build it. Build it. Where's the build button? You know what the build button is? It is me trying to do something that would be nice to do in the exact moment when I'm about to click something. I'll get the spinny, interrupt what I was doing. Here, let me try clicking on this guy. Oh, see, there's the spinny right after I try to actually interact. Kind of a Murphy's Law type of a rule. Okay. And I expect it's going to behave differently here. Balance. Okay. I know one thing that's kind of messed up about it. 31, 25, 22, 31, 25, 22. 32, 25, 22, okay. So now it's all in integer boundaries. I think that's actually fine, now I think about it. Because I want all my my zones to be on integer bounds too. On integer coordinates, boundaries, limits. So might as well just it's almost easier for me to proofread this than to step through the logic. Depth scan min max, min-max, min-search max, min-max, boom, boom, okay. So what do I think will happen? I think it will return true. Do I think it will return true? I'm not going to compare it. I kind of know, yeah, okay, that most of the children should end up being added to this list. So if a couple of them are not, then that's as expected. Okay, there's one that was not added. Two that were not added. Really? This is that one weird game object that doesn't have a renderer, apparently. Which is valid, but how did it get in that state? And how do I deal with it? I thought I could use get component to check if the renderer was attached. I thought it would return null if it's not. Apparently it throws an exception. feel like I just probably got some junk in here over the many times I ran this, or maybe I deleted one of them, or in the editor I deleted the renderer or something like that. So let's see, let's take a look. Wall descender. Oh, you know what it could be. Well, I don't know about that. So it worked before. It worked before when it just said delete all of them. Delete them all, that's what it said. Oh, I know why though. I know why. Because at the top level, these don't have renderers. I think I know why. It's actually more of a mystery why those first two worked. I think it's because some have got an extra level underneath of them. And others, like, no? Do any of them have a renderer at the top level? Oh, these ones. But those are, I cheated on those. I didn't move over like a whole proper object. Okay. I think I remember the task here. So, I know a way to do this that's a lot simpler. Because it's a truism of all my decorations to date that none of them take up more than 1 cube of space, I don't need their actual bounds. I only need their position XYZ, which is on the transform. And I can use that to check if they're inside the zone. And that will save me from a lot of hullabaloo. So let me just change this to CRH. Or let's do yeah, CRH is fine. Get rid of this. Yeah, this is getting a lot simpler. Yeah. So yeah, now it's making complete sense why it was working like that. Is there just some way to make this start building faster? Okay. I saw it spin. I think it built. Apply. Okay. I think the first one gets added. I can't remember if the second one did or not. Nope. Okay, that's fine. Third one, was that the crasher? It won't crash here. I don't think it will anyways. Okay. There we go. Now we're back in action. Okay, very likely to work. Very likely to work. Make sure it gets all the way through. Oh, it is slow though. That part I did not like. Okay, what do I expect to happen? This guy's still here. This guy is deleted. Should be one off the right. Not deleted. Fine. All good. All good, all good, all good. And probably it's true that if I drag that out off over here, it will still not be deleted. Okay. I'm just going to call it good for that part. And also, actually, it's a lot faster to decorate just this area. So even if I added some slowdown on one part of it, no, you know, it was negligible because it just ran through all that delete code just with no noticeable problem there. Okay, that's going to help me out a lot. It didn't slow it down. It was just a debugger thing. Or at least not noticeably. So now I move on to the next part, which is randomizing the positions. So I'll explain why I'm doing that. I'm going to have some logic that fills up open spaces, but I want that logic to not need to know anything about the available space in the total area it's filling up. I want it to have some way to, if I say that there's a 40% chance in any eligible spot that the decorator finds of placing a decoration, that it will not like cram all the decorations up into one corner, because the 40% rule ends up with the scan placing them all up here, and then when it gets like part way down, it's just empty. All, you know, everything's been sort of placed. I don't want anything like that. So if I just randomize the order in which the squares are evaluated for the decorations, it should result in more uniform decoration. You won't see like certain areas, top, bottom, left, right, with a different density of decoration. So let's do that next. It's also kind of a nice thing to enforce a principle, which is I don't want the order that the decorations are applied to really affect the logic in any way. It's kind of like if you had a suite of unit tests. A lot of the test runners have a feature where they'll start all of them in random orders, just so you can ferret out that there's a dependency of one unit test to run before another. So it's kind of like that. I want to isolate the code from any dependence upon ordering. Okay, so let's just search to the to-do. So if you've got an array, what's a way to randomize it? I know one easy way, and I'm just going to do it because I know it works. So I'll just say for each element in the array, I will swap it with another element in the array at some other location. So I'm trying to pass the same random number generator along to functions that could use it to avoid different weird things with predictable sequences happening. So it's kind of like if you crack that random number generator open, you want to keep using next unless you've got some way to set the seed differently so that you'll have different results. And I found problems with setting the seed to different values where there's ranges of values where you set the seed to where they almost all start with 0 as the first random number returned, and so it's definitely a very pseudo-random number generator. Okay, j equals random. Next. Anything from 0 to length. That last number is exclusive, not inclusive. So that'll give me a valid index. Little 3-card Monty here. Or 2-card Monty maybe. I don't know. There's a swap one too, so that's kind of like a 3rd card. So we swapped them around. And I don't know. I just optimize this a tiny bit without adding too much complexity. Let's just do that. Okay. I do want to step through that code first time. It's low risk code, but just one step through should do it. This code I kind of expect to work the first time through. All right. So I0J is, no, I'm stepping through old code right now. I can tell because it's got the cursor in places that don't make sense. So let's just wait for that to finish. And let's just my spidey senses are tingling. I feel like this is a good time to stop. Or if the debugger starts doing something a little bit silly. And I'll just do my git commits. Let's start the debugger again. Oh, come on. Oh, I gotta pass random. Here we go. It's kind of weird. Is that like a static? Is that what it is? Yeah, it's annoying when I totally forget. What is decor random? It's this thing. Oh yeah. That's right. So I don't actually need to pass that because I have this static thing here. So yeah, okay, that's fine. I'll go with what I was doing before. I know better than to click this before it. Yep. So I is 0, J is something else. J is 87. What's her length? 120. Alright, so this is a pretty fast completing operation. Not really worth sweating over. I really hate it when I set a new breakpoint and it just executes past it. That's not what I asked for. It's not what I asked for at all. But, you know, it's alright. because all it did is it ran the decoration script again. And it gave me some other decorations. That's fine. I got no qualms with that. I'll just run it again. Should do the same decorations. Yep. I can apply a different seed. And it should do different decorations. Yep. All good. Alright, so all this leading up to a new type of decoration, which is called a wall panel. And if I'm going to apply that, I might as well move this little cursor thing so it's off over here. I'm just enlarging this cuboid so that it fits in a wall, and that means I will only decorate on this wall. And so I'm going to just try that out, just one more test to see if that new decoration is working as expected. Yep. So it just went in and it put, one type of decoration on the walls, which are the descenders. So I know it's covering the area that I requested. And then what I want to do next is to find this new type of decoration. And I'm just trying to think, because I'm only going to go for like another half hour or so, and I want to end each session well, like achieving something. I mean, I already achieved one thing, but it didn't take like the whole length of the session. So what will I try to get done in this last half hour or so? I think I will just model one kind of stub decoration. No, I won't even do that yet. I'll go in and I'll set up like sort of the basics for the new decoration and fill rule and everything. Okay, so Okay. So how it works is the rule is like the top controller for the decoration. It creates decor pieces, which are stored in a kind of a temporary structure, which kind of defines logically or at a high level where the decor is going to go, enough that the other rules can do in this first pass a generation of their decor pieces as well. And then finally, the decorator is called, which is associated with each decor piece, and that adds like the meshes, instantiates the prefabs that actually visualize the effect or show it inside of the scene. So those are the three things. The nice thing here is just have I think the decoration aspect of this would be simpler. I did want to include the possibility of having more different types of wall panel variations. I think 6 is plenty though. I don't want to go crazy on it. I'm taking out code that's just copied over from a previous class. And I'm using like the old code to kind of remind me of what the structure of this needs to be, but this is all applying to a different decoration rule. Okay, so you need an algorithm in here to do is square eligible? No. Is square which walls which directions, which orthogonal directions have walls? For each direction, if none, then exit without decoration. For each direction with a wall, which I'm remembering something else. I wanted to have some pieces that had a chance to fill in before others. So suppose you had like a bunch of little wall panel pieces that were like small and easy to fit in. Then you had like some king daddies, you know, some kind of gnarly looking pieces that may be hard to fit in, but if there was an opportunity to fit them in, you'd want to try to get them in first before all the little ones. So it's like if you're packing a suitcase, you pack like the bigger stuff in first maybe, and then like all the socks and underwear you just kind of tuck into the nooks and crannies. So if that's the case, then I think I want to split this into more than one wall panel rule. Could do just two. Two might be good. I could do primary wall panel rule and secondary. I'll take off all the variations. I'll keep 4 in each one. Primary wall panel rule, and then I'll do the secondaries, which will run in the level decorator after. I think even I have to do a little bit of abstraction. So it'll be like a derived class then. So, wall panel rule, wall pal, decor rule, all that. This will all be true. But these transforms, they would need to come Can I add more than one of the same script? That's a key thing. That's a key thing. So can I add a second? I think I can. Why can't I? Why couldn't I? Wall descender rule. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Or it might be that I've just put everything into an unbuildable state with all my new files I added. So maybe I'll just fix that up real quick and I'll come back to this and not think too much on the design yet. Just delete all this. To do. Okay, yeah, don't overthink that yet, because what I do there depends upon a capability of Unity. I don't know if it has it or not. Okay, so next one, wall panel decorator. All the stuff is going to be different. To do. Okay. Decor piece. Okay, I will need that. There will be some kind of setting of things in here. I just don't know what those values are going to be yet. Probably at least, probably it's going to have that same kind of pattern that each thing in the core set will, each direction in the core set will probably have a type associated with it. Okay. Map decor set. Copy decor set. And that's wrong. To do like this. Just for now. Okay. All right. To do. Apply. It's probably going to be different than the other code because I have a different way I think is better of doing it. Here, let me put this back. To do the setup. Do basically everything in here. Okay, so now are we back to compilable, buildable? So you know what, I think my victory thing will be setting up these files so that they're ready to be implemented tomorrow on a beautiful Thursday evening. Build away, build away. Build, 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 build. You will succeed at building. I know you will. So let me now come back to here. Get interrupted in the middle of me trying to do something. Oh, look, here's the second wall descender rule. Okay. So that tells me that I can add multiple scripts of the same type, which why not? Why wouldn't you be able to? And I can use that to say for the wall panels, move component. Wall panel rule, where are you? There's, okay, what's up with that? It's not abstract, that's what. I'm not going to need it to be abstract. I can just say, like a so. Okay, go ahead, rebuild, rebuild, rebuild. Okay, okay, come on, come on, come on. All right. Wall panel, so there's one. And I can put in one set of transforms that goes there. And I can just add another one underneath of it. And I know that it's going to execute these in the order that I add them. So I've got some code in the level decorator script that says what are all the rule scripts that are attached to this component, and it just goes through and it runs each one of them one after the other. So I can use this rule on its own to put in like the first set of wall panels that I'm more worried about getting in, maybe harder to position ones, and then I can do as many more of these rules as I want underneath to have different phases of decorating with wall panels. And if you only heard the audio of this show, you would think I was some kind of deranged home improvement nut. All this wall paneling and my plans for making the wall paneling, be decorating everything well. But it's actually going to be a cool, logical, problem-solving type of exercise. At least for me, I'll enjoy it quite a bit. And I hope you have enjoyed this session with me, Eric, your host. This has been the God Killer Live Coding, and I'll free you now to go look at other things if you want. And I think that's it. I had a good session. Thanks for joining me if you did. See you tomorrow if you want to be there. Bye.